Oh, Lewis, not again.
I deny.
Whoever denied it supplied it, Lewis.
Walked right into that one.
Jeez, what was on that sandwich?
Oh no, that mold. That's wreaking havoc, Lewis.
What a fantastic sandwich it was.
Hold on, I have no idea if we're actually live because I didn't bring up the YouTube page.
Oh, jeez.
It says we're live, but I don't believe
people could be missing this incredible conversation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we are live. Here we go. And we're live. Oh, man. Let's see here. We got Hugo last with the 20. Oh, man, he's dishing it out already. I think Hugo gives us at least $100 per show. We should probably invite him into one of our homes or on the show. Perhaps give him ownership of the show at some point. We got Nathan Tyrion here. We got Level Remix. We've got the Caveman. Reese Grundy's here. DJ Cybersonic. How do you guys like that? I did that real time. We got Carlos L. Man, I should be a DJ. All right. Oh, man. DJ Cybersonic is in Malaysia. It's 4 a.m. here. Holy cow. You're up at 4 a.m. to listen to this? It's not going to be that good, I promise you. We got Yanto 3000. Yanto. This is good. This is a good mix. Good mix of gubs in here. Do we have anyone in the very exclusive Cult Club? I haven't even looked today. What do you say, Griffin? Let's see here.
Oh, yeah, there's been some chat this morning.
Some chatter this morning? Man, we're having fun in there. We are
just before we went live, people were talking about the Rivian and the apparently Red is being acquired by Nikon.
Oh, really? You're kidding me. Red is buying Nikon?
No, the other way around.
Oh, the other way around? Nikon's buying Red? I'm surprised that Nikon has enough money to do that. Nikon has been in, I don't know, third or fourth place from a camera perspective for like years now. I wasn't even sure they were going to remain solvent.
I mean, I'll admit I don't know much about the camera business, but I didn't think that Red needed to be acquired. I felt like they had a pretty stable business from my understanding.
Dude, yeah, same here. I mean, they're super popular amongst filmmakers and just generally because their cameras are so good and they're also so expensive. That is actually
like high. What do you call it? Like high business, like high margin industry. Like they've got to have incredible margins on all of their products.
I imagine they do. I mean, they're selling cameras for like $60,000. That is wild. I had not heard that. That is an interesting mix too. Like if they could bring some of Nikon's autofocus technology and other just general camera technology to Red and make a camera that's more of a hybrid, but with Red internals, sign me up for that. That would be pretty cool. Hold, you're blowing my mind.
I heard that Red has like a few patents on things. Like they have a patent on like a compressed RAW format that Nikon could take advantage of as well.
Actually, that is really interesting. So yes, they have, I think they have an uncompressed or a compressed RAW, like you said, that other camera manufacturers have tried to emulate and couldn't because Red sued them all. And so none of them have been able to do it. But Nikon recently implemented a version of some kind of RAW recording in one of their recent camera models, and I think Red sued them and they lost. And that was like a big development because a lot of the other camera companies, to my understanding, have not been able to implement RAW video recording because of Red's litigious nature. And having lost a lawsuit to Nikon, and now Nikon's buying them? Like, what? This is a wild story.
We really want this feature. We'll just buy you. So you don't.
Well, I mean, it would give them a huge advantage because one of Red's competitive advantages is raw video. You can take a video like a raw image, and then you can change the white balance after the video is recorded, and no one else can do that. Unless you do it like Canon did, where like every minute of video is like 2 gigabytes or something, or something crazy. This is an unbelievable development. As soon as we're done, I'm gonna have to go and read about this. I almost sneaked in a Movie Pass story because I was looking at Movie Pass. They're still alive, Lewis. They're still kicking. And when they relaunched, they actually had a pretty interesting product offering, and I was looking at it this week, and I was like, because I want to see Dune 2, and I was like, oh, like maybe resubscribe to Movie Pass, but This should be an off topic. We should make this into an off topic because I don't have time to do it all right now.
Did the hot deal disappear?
It's not as hot as it used to be. But have you guys seen
lukewarm deal?
I don't even know if it's Luke at this point. It's like Matt Warm. Have you guys seen Dune 2 yet?
No.
Are you going to? Anyone care?
I'd like to at some point, but I haven't looked into
Talk
it.
about it at some point. Okay, look. No one's here to hear us talk about this. Shout out to Gurn. Gurn's here. Betty Reyes is here with a very cheerful hello. I think we're ready to roll. Do I have my show notes up here? I should probably close that so people can't see all the sausage. Oh, hold on. Speaking of sausage. Sorry. My bad, everyone. I have to set up the browser mode real fast. So let's do that, and then we'll get started. Browser. Let's make sure we switch to the right window. Oh, good. I thought that our stream just went down. Is that it? No. Oh, yeah. There we go. Got our sponsor there. Fantastic. Everything's looking up. Finally. Although, why is this cut off at the bottom? I don't know. I guess it doesn't really make any difference. Oh, that's because that's the wrong window. Oops.
What next?
Sorry, guys. Sausage. Let's see. There we go. That fixed it. Okay. Are y'all done looking at my sausage? Should we get started? All right. Let me go ahead and cue up Mrs. You-Know-Who. Oh, Mrs. D. Mrs. D. Oh, my dear, did somebody say sausage? Oh, no. Here we go. I dined on LK sausage last night. Oh, God, Lewis.
Did not see that one
Oh,
coming.
God. That's your fault, Lewis. I blame you for that one. You invite these types of responses. They're totally inappropriate. Mrs. D, all of us are nauseous now. I said that word weird. My apologies. Look, no one wants to hear about that, Mrs. D. I'm glad that you all seem to get along so well, but we have a lot of Apple stories here to do, if you don't mind. We'll get this thing rolling. In 3-0. Now the hearts are coming in now. Oh, Carlos L says he's definitely forking it over today. Good to hear. Pay up, butthead. 3, 2. Hello, and welcome to the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. I'm your host, Eric Lesha. Joining me today, he used to run the Mac writer internship program until 2 students with bad grammar suspiciously went missing. He's the managing editor of Mac. Lewis Walls is here.
They're at a re-education camp.
Didn't they find like some of their personal effects in your yard? That's what I heard. I haven't read the whole case yet, though. Also with us, his writing machine of choice is a 1999 iBook G3 running Mac OS 9. He likes that the included Airport 802.11b, so nerdy, 802.11 speeds almost perfectly matches rural Ohio internet speeds. Writer at Mac, Griffin Jones is here.
I have a 1999 iBook G3.
Oh, I'm sure you had one
and the
somewhere.
matching blue hockey puck mouse.
Oh man, that hockey puck mouse. Apple has never done mice well, ever. All their mice are terrible.
Ooh, hard disagree there. I really like the egg-shaped ADB mouse that they had immediately before it, and I actually think that the hockey puck mouse is a little unjustly maligned. I actually genuinely like it.
I remember my brother had one a long time ago, and I have to admit I didn't spend a ton of time with it. But
it has a really great button click to it. It has a really satisfying click.
Does that one have more than one button on it? Does it have 2?
No.
It only has.
Apple has never made a multi-button mouse.
See, that's my problem with Apple mice. Like, I just really hate that they don't do 2 buttons. Why would you not do 2 buttons on a mouse? That makes no sense. Every mouse needs 2 buttons.
You can just click in the other corner on the Magic Mouse and it'll interpret it as a right click, or you can just control click with your other hand.
Oh yeah, let me have to add a whole hand into the operation of one single click. So now instead of a click, you have to literally use 2 arms to make the same thing happen.
Or if you're a sensible person and you just use the Magic Trackpad, you just click with 2 fingers.
Well, yeah, that is actually useful, but that's not intuitive to. There you go.
Use a real mouse.
What is that? What mouse is that, Lewis?
It's a Logitech
Yeah,
MX Master 3
that's what I
for
got.
Mac.
I think mine's the 3S. Holy cow, Lewis! I sent you some cold cloth, didn't I? You need to swab the deck of that ththing. That I could see the Ebola.
I can't get my hand off it. It's just I clutch it like a precious gem.
It has like some strange biofilm over the top of it.
It's just well used.
Well used. That thing looks terrible. If the EPA sees that, they're going to confiscate it.
I wonder how many hours I got on it.
And I could practically read your fingerprints off the top of that mouse. Holy moly. All right, look. Man, we have a great show this week. We got all sorts of fun stories to talk about. We have the new M3 MacBook Air, which gets huge spec boosts. We'll talk about that. We will talk about the incoming iPads, which are literally right around the corner. I think we're probably a week, maybe 2 away from the brand new iPads, of which I will be buying one. And we also have this insane, but it seems like true rumor that Apple is working on a 20-inch folding screen MacBook that is going to be released at some point in the future. We have more details on why the Apple Car failed and got discontinued. There's a big report on that out in Bloomberg this week. If we have time, we'll work in this EU fines Apple 1.8 billion euros over abusive treatment. Yeah. I don't know, man. Seems like a cash grab to me, but Griffin may disagree with me there. And then we're going to talk about the exciting new features in iOS 17.4, of which I think we're probably all using. Is that fair to say? I've been using it for a while.
I've been using it since it was released. I don't know, earlier this week. I looked at the podcast transcriptions, and it's mostly very accurate.
Yeah.
But hilariously, it gets your name and Lewis's name wrong almost every week.
Well, Lewis has a tough name that's very unusual, so I totally understand that. But mine, I'm offended. Let's see. All right, before we dive in, oh man, I'm super happy to have Backblaze back with us. Can I bring this up? Is that even possible? Does the technology exist? There we go. Oh, you know what, Lewis? Before we do Backblaze, I bet you want some of that tweet action, don't you?
That sounds great.
You didn't even notice this time. You are losing your touch.
Forgot to have that second cup of coffee.
It's probably the poisons from that biofilm on your mouse entering your fingertips.
There's also that.
All right. Let me send this out real fast. Bow, bow. That's going to have them coming in. Okay. I want to thank Backblaze for supporting this episode. It's been a while since we've had Backblaze with us, and I'm super happy to have them back. Unlimited cloud backup for Macs, PCs, and businesses for just $99 a year. This is, I think, what Time Machine should have become. I think it's kind of like the de facto backup, offsite backup method for people with Macs, but of course it also works on your PC as well. Protect all the data on your machines automatically. Access your backed up data. Let's see here. Let me make sure I scroll so you can see this. Access your backed up data from anywhere in the world using their web app. They have one for iOS and Android. You can restore your data by mail. They will send you a hard drive with all of your data on it, shipped to your door. And if you send it back to them, they will give you a full refund within 30 days. Well, if you send it back to them within 30 days, they'll give you a full refund for that cost. 1 year file retention and version history. Over 55 billion files are stored for customers. CultCast listeners can get a fully featured no-risk trial at backblaze.com/cultcast, backblaze.com/cultcast. Go there, play with it, start protecting yourself from potential bad times. Start today, backblaze.com/cultcast. Oh, and by the way, you can plug in USB drives. So if you have some huge USB drive and you're like, I'm totally going to game the system and back up all this USB content, I've got like 20 terabytes, they'll let you do it. They will actually let you do that. They'll take the L on you. Actually, I don't know if they're taking an L, but they will let you actually upload all your data, and there's no limits. Backblaze.com/cultcast. Let us dive right in, gentlemen. I don't know who's going first. Oh, it's the Grifster. Oh, of course. He takes the good story. The new M3 MacBook Air. Not as airy as that hair, but it does rhyme, and maybe that's why he wanted to do this story. I don't know. What say you, Griffin?
I actually ended up writing this up because Apple dropped this without warning, just unexpectedly on Monday. Ed wasn't awake to write it up. So I was like, well, I'll give him 15 minutes while I, get dressed, let the dogs out and all that. Well, I ended up writing it up before Ed was, I think, even awake.
Now we know who let the dogs out.
Now we finally know. I was just thinking that. It was Griffin. The mystery's been solved.
Anyways, new M3 MacBook Air gets big specs boost with same awesome battery life. The 2024 MacBook Air lineup launched Monday by Apple runs on the company's M3 chip, bringing a significant performance boost to the laptop. This comes in the same sizes, 13 inches and 15 inches, and the same 4 colors, although now if you get the Midnight one, it has the same fingerprint-proof anodization process that the Space Black MacBook Pro from last year has, so it'll be slightly less fingerprinty. The new laptop runs, quote, up to 60% faster than the model with the M1 chip and up to 13 times faster than the fastest Intel-based MacBook Air, the company said. Apple also claims it's twice as fast as the best-selling 15-inch Intel Core i7 PC laptop. But they don't specify what it is, but we'll just have to take their word for it. It now supports 2 external displays out of the box. Each display will run at 60 hertz with a billion colors, one at 5K resolution and one at 6K. Previously, the MacBook Air was limited to only one external monitor. A small snag, however, is that when you plug in 2 monitors, the lid of the Mac has to be closed. So you still only get 2 displays in total, not 3. But you do have to consider, well, if you're plugging in a studio display, you'll still get more screen space overall. The 14-inch 2023 MacBook Pro will gain this feature as well by a software update. It has Wi-Fi 6E, which is twice as fast. The M3 chip has hardware ray tracing and mesh shading for better graphics. And this is an important one that not a lot of people talk about, but the media engine inside the chip now has an AV1 decoder for future online video. AV1 is the new open format that a lot of companies are probably going to be switching to, like, on YouTube and Netflix.
YouTube already uses it. We're broadcasting AV1 as you speak.
Well, if you're watching,
that's why our picture looks so much better than Talk Show or 9 to 5 or any of those other lesser popular shows. So they don't have the capabilities.
This live stream on the new M3 MacBook Pro, you'll get slightly better battery life. Where was I? Apple boldly introduced it as, quote, the world's best consumer laptop for AI, thanks to the 16-core neural engine that lets you run LLMs and image generation tools on device.
Which is impossible.
Which is important. Being able to run it on device is pretty awesome. Like, that's what I do on my Mac Mini, because I don't want to, give OpenAI any money, and I don't want to, pay for any image generation tools. There are open source projects you can download that'll let you do that stuff on device. I don't know if a lot of other people do that though. I feel like I'm the odd one out. A lot of people just use the cloud-based stuff.
I mean, for the most part, it's the cloud-based stuff that is available, and everyone wants you to use the cloud-based stuff. I mean, it's faster, and I would imagine way more powerful than running it on the neural engine on your MacBook Air. But also, although there are open source projects, I don't think they're easy to install or configure. Maybe you could speak to that, because I didn't actually know that was even something that you could do, because the only ones that I've seen are running on cloud, huge NVIDIA, software farms or GPU farms, which, by the way, holy moly, dude. NVIDIA might become the most valuable company in the world in the next 6 months. I think they're in 3rd place currently. Every day that I look at NVIDIA, their stock goes up like 3%. It's up 4% today. It was up 3% yesterday. In the last month, it's up 31%. In the last 3 months, it's up 100%. Like, everyone is buying NVIDIA stuff to power the future of AI, and their stock is going bonkers. That's just an aside for those of you who are interested. But I've even considered liquidating all my Apple stock and buying NVIDIA, because Apple stock has kind of been flat for a while now. Maybe they'll be able to have some big new product like Vision Pro that will eventually boost revenues enough for them to start going up again. But NVIDIA is going absolutely bonkers. Yeah.
Apple could just put AI in all of the press releases now.
Maybe that would help. Yeah, just do that.
Yeah.
Or they can start a
sounds like they're already starting.
Yeah.
Saying that a MacBook Air is the best consumer laptop for AI, for running the cloud-based stuff that you can do from any laptop.
Which is hilarious because, I mean, before you said that was possible, I was like, that's not even possible. I don't think you can do that, at least with nothing that I've seen. Like, nobody is running it locally on their laptop. Are they? Am I wrong about that? I don't think so. Everyone is using OpenAI or one of the other Midjourney, like one of the other platforms, and they're all cloud-based. Like the fact that you would run this on your laptop instead of having 10,000 NVIDIA 4090s doing it for you, I don't know how well that works. I think the future is running it maybe locally. That would be cool because I don't want to pay for credits either or have a subscription to OpenAI or Midjourney or something. But I imagine it's going to be wildly less powerful if you run it on the neural engine.
I forget the name of what the app is called because it GPT 4 All, GPT number 4 All, ALL is the app that I use to run like a text generation on my Mac, and I mostly just use it for this is incredibly nerdy, so I apologize to all the ordinary people listening. I just use it to like figure out FFmpeg commands. Like if I need to convert a whole folder full of video files from like MKV to MOV, I just like tell that, hey, write a script that'll use FFmpeg to convert all these, and then I just paste it in terminal. But
you're right, that is incredibly nerdy, and your apologies accepted.
Anyways, here's important. The 13-inch M2 MacBook Air is still available for $999 or in the education store for $899, which I think is a stellar price. Like if you think about it, the M2 MacBook Air launched at I think $1299, and now you can get it for as little as $899. That's an incredible deal.
Oh my. The price hike is complete. Apple's psychological maneuver to have us all justifying their price hike on the M2 is now complete because now they discount it back to the normal price. It's like, oh, that's a great deal.
Yeah, it's a great computer. It's if you don't need a computer that's like 30% as fast as the M3, then it's a great deal at a much better price. The 15-inch M2 model is gone. You can only buy the M2 MacBook Air in the 13-inch size, and the M1 MacBook Air with its wedge-shaped design and rectangular screen has been discontinued.
Yeah, they were
pouring out for that great computer.
They've been discounting the M1 MacBook Air for months and months and months now, and they've been selling it for $750. My guess is you'll see it for even lower now. Like Apple will discontinue it on their website, but it's not going to go anywhere. It's still going to be available, would be my guess from third-party resellers, because they're still selling the M1 MacBook Pro. I mean, there's that computer is so hugely discounted now on sites like B&H. I saw like the maxed out version with 4 terabytes of SSD, and I think it had like 64 or 128 gigabytes of RAM. I forget what the max was on that computer. And they were selling it for like $3,100, but they're still selling it. So you'll see the M1 MacBook Air discounted heavily, available, especially during the holidays. And that computer is an absolute beast. I mean, that really is still all you would need for just a general computing machine. The M3 is significantly faster than the M2 and the M1. And I would love to see some benchmarks of the M3 MacBook Air over the M1 MacBook Pro, to be honest with you. I bet you there are some tests where the MacBook Air now wins. And, of course, you get all that great portability. So let's talk about specs for a second. I know you all, especially Lewis, this is where he perks up when I start talking about specs. But we at least
can't get enough specs.
We at least got to mention this. Early benchmarks show M3 chip gives MacBook Air hefty performance boost. I mean, that much is certainly true. And it's not just multi-core performance. Like, that's what I was expecting, because that's always what they highlight. It's like, oh, we added a couple cores, and now, lo and behold, the multi-core performance is, 25% better. It's like, well, yeah, it's because you added multiple cores. So, of course, it's going to be significantly better, but most people, or I should say most tasks, don't require all the cores to be used at one time, so you may not see those benefits. So, like, what really matters is the single-core performance, and the M3 chip delivers in both regards. So, here, I have a quote here. This is from Apple. Yeah, with M3, MacBook Air is up to 60% faster than the model with the M1 chip, and up to 13 times faster than the fastest Intel-based MacBook Air. I don't know why they even make that comparison anymore. That's really old. Apple promised... Oh, this is just Apple's, the end of the press release. Early benchmark scores found that the new Air scored 12,020 on the Geekbench multi-core test. That's 25% better than the M2. 25%. And 45% better than the M1 MacBook Air from 2020. But I think here's the better part. Apple's latest single-core Geekbench test got 3157. That is 22% better than the M2. That's a huge increase in single-core speeds. Like in the Intel years, we were lucky if we got like 12% or 15%. So that's massive, a 22% increase in speed that you'll notice in, day out performance. You don't have to utilize all the cores to see that speed. And it's 45% better than the M1 version of the MacBook Air in single-core performance. Now, again, this is just one test. This is Geekbench. But I do like single-core performance tests because like that's a good indicator of like actual real-world performance that you'll see. So this thing is massively faster than the M2 and hugely massively faster than the M1. I don't know if you need all that power. Some power for some is too much to wield, Lewis. You know what I'm saying? If you can handle the power, like me, then maybe it's something that you should go for. But I think for most mortals, the M1 is probably fine. The M2
Speaking
is
of Lewis
definitely
with
all
the
you
M1,
need. Yeah.
Lewis, I think you have the M1 MacBook Air. Are you tempted by this upgrade at all?
Well, I got to say I'm feeling a little bit inadequate. And this thing is mostly great. Every now and then it locks up, too many tabs or some specific website. All I'm doing though really is using the web and online tools and stuff. I think Photoshop, it doesn't particularly like Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
If I happen to leave that running, sometimes I run into problems. But yeah, I mean, the honest fact is these computers are great. I've never even actually held one of those new redesigned ones though. I love the old kind of classic wedge shape, right?
Yeah.
You guys like the new design better?
Oh yeah, they're way better. They're much more beautiful. I think they have a more noble design aesthetic to them. They just have like this great stature to them. I bought one for my wife, and much to my surprise, she liked the Starlight model. It's like a slight gold. It looks silver, but in the right light, it looks like it's just slightly golden. And it's a really beautiful laptop. I got her the base model, which was $750, a great deal. Although I got her the one with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I have to say that is not enough RAM even for her in some situations. I was surprised. Like Apple's like, it's a Mac, 8 gigabytes is enough. No, it's not. My wife is not a power user, and she gets a pop-up all the time that says, your machine is running low on memory. Please close some applications. I'm like, dude, she has Chrome open, and
right.
She sees that, not irregularly. And she's not using Photoshop or anything crazy. I would describe her as like a casual computer user. She does some light, like word processing. She uses Google Docs and stuff, and she gets that pop-up, and she's like, what is this pop-up? So I checked it out, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're running low on memory, so something to keep in mind. Gurn's asking the question. Gurn from the chat, is 8 gigabytes enough?
No.
Not for
this
many.
one's got, this M1 I got's got 16. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever buy a computer with less than that. Even that sounds skimpy.
I think 16 is plenty for people who are doing productivity stuff. But, when you up the RAM, Apple adds a huge tax onto that. It's really expensive to increase the RAM. And they always have the best deals on the one with 8 gigabytes. They don't do big deals on the 16 gigabyte model. So I do think that you can make it with 8 gigs, but you are gonna see that memory pop up from time to time. Mac Nichols 9 from the chat. Chrome is a big memory hog. Yeah, that's true. It definitely is. I was trying to get her to use Safari, but she wants to use Chrome for whatever reason. So that actually might fix the issue because Chrome does drink it up. Do you think you will see M4 in 2024? I mean, I think so. I think we'll see the M4 MacBook Pro, which I think might be the one that I'm waiting for, in the usual time, like this summer. I would imagine we'll probably see. No, am I off on my math here?
I think there was a Mark Gurman story a while ago that said that if the rest of the year, they're just going to be rolling out the M3 to the rest of the lineup, and there won't be any M4 this year. Or if there is, then it'll be like at the very end of the year, like October, if at all, but probably not.
Mac. Let me look at the Mac rumors buying guide, because when did the M3 come out? It was September, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
well, October.
Was it October? So we normally get a new MacBook Pro every year, and I don't know why they would change that suddenly. And if they did, like, they can't just put the M3 in it. They're going to have to do something else.
I mean, I think the M4 is when they're moving to an enhanced 3 nanometer process that TSMC hasn't scaled up yet.
But even so, why is this not? It's not coming up for me. Even so, though, they're going to have to release, or I would imagine they would release a new MacBook Pro, sometime in September or October. And they can't just put the M3 in it again. They're going to have to do something. It's going to have to be the M4.
Not if the M4s aren't ready.
I mean, I guess they could delay it and not release a new MacBook Pro. I mean,
they did that in 2022. Instead of releasing new MacBook Pros in October 2022, they released them in like January 2023.
So they postponed it. Yeah, let's see here. Okay, here we go. This is what I was looking for. So the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro. So it's been 129 days. When did it come out? Does it say here? Yeah, it was October. Wow, that was late. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago, does it? And
it's not that long ago.
Yeah, but previously it was 286 days since the last update. So
because that time it had been delayed from the previous October.
Okay. So they had their one set of releases, or the last release was October 2023. The previous to that was, wait, this makes no sense. January 2023?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, because it's almost a full year later. Right. And then October 2021 before that. Yeah, so it does tend to be longer in previous releases. See, now I don't know what to do, because I kind of want a new MacBook Pro. I don't want to wait 2 years, though. You know what I'm waiting for, though?
Year, not 2 years.
But if they don't release the M4, then they're going to have to delay the release of the MacBook Pro.
They don't have to delay by an entire year. It could just be, 1 year instead of 8 months from now.
Yeah, so you're saying they could delay it like an extra 6 months or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I guess that's possible. But I just wouldn't want to wait more than like another year from now. I'm already having a hard time waiting, but I'm waiting for the 16 core 40 core MacBook Pro, like the very top tier one, to land in the refurbished store. Like right now, the one they're selling is like the 14 core or 32 core model, like the binned one, and it's discounted, and it's tempting, but waiting for that top tier model to show up on the refurb store might be what causes me to pull the trigger. Although I don't know what's taking so long. Like all the other M3 MacBook Pros now are available on the Apple refurb store, but not that one. They're holding out.
My theory is that a lot of people who are buying that computer know exactly what they want, and they're less likely to return it.
I mean, that's an interesting theory. Hold on.
That's what I would say just off the top of my head.
Refurbished Mac. Is it available right now? Are you guys about to watch me buy this in real time? Let's take a look here. No, I definitely wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't buy this one without the discount. Let's take a look. So even with the refurb discount. So here we go. We have the M3 MacBook Pro pulled up on the Apple refurbished store. Why are we talking about this and doing it in real time? I really can't think of a good reason, to be honest with you.
Fascinating. Just fascinating podcast material. I mean,
yeah, especially for people listening. Okay, so they don't even have a ton of M3s right now. So we're out of luck. I won't be spending the money on this episode. Come back next episode where everyone spends $4,000 on a laptop and you get to see him enter his credit card information live. All right.
Speaking about future computers.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about the folding 20-inch MacBook?
Dude, what a segue. Slam dunk meme. Let me bring this up. Apple is working on a 20-inch folding MacBook with a 20-inch screen that folds. And it is still on track for release. Incoming in 2027. or beyond. Apple continues to work on a MacBook with a 20-inch folding screen, according to a reliable source of insider information. This is Ming-Chi Kuo, right? And it could set a new pattern for notebooks for the coming decade. This product has been on the drawing board for some time, but isn't scheduled for release until 2027. The general design, okay, I don't need to read that part. Ming-Chi Kuo, an analyst, yep. My latest survey indicates that currently, Apple's only foldable product with a clear development schedule is the 20.3-inch MacBook, expected to enter mass production in 2027. Now, I wonder if this is a MacBook Pro. That would be my guess. I can't imagine this would just be a MacBook. And his prediction...
I can't even imagine what it's going to look like.
Well, here, look at this mock-up I'm showing you right there. It's on cultamac.com. You should read it sometime.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's somebody making a...
I know.
I mean, is that it?
No
keyboard? No. Come on.
You don't need a keyboard when you got 20 inches.
Why call it a MacBook?
It's
an iPad.
It's going to be the touch bar on steroids. Yeah, let's hope it does. So I just think this is a wild product. And the fact that they're working on this is really exciting. So I imagine that they will have the screen extend down and they'll push down like the keyboard or something. I don't know how they're going to pull that off. Let's see. Ming-Chi Kuo's prediction isn't the first time we have had word of a supersized MacBook. Analyst Ross Young, who is very accurate in his predictions, said in early 2022 that a 20-inch MacBook is in the stages of development, or in the first stages of development. The elect weighed in at the end of the year to say the same. They're probably just copying Ross Young. I disavow that. I actually don't know if that's true. Don't sue me. All these sources agree that the device is pegged for release in 2027. So that's kind of far away. Obviously exciting, but nothing that is imminent. But it is pretty interesting, isn't it? A MacBook Pro with a 20-inch display. I don't know about you guys, but I once owned the glorious 17-inch iBook. That thing was an absolute monster. I mean, it was huge. I had somebody the other day making fun of me because I was holding a 16-inch MacBook Pro. And I was like, first of all, this is a man's machine meant for man things and man computing. And maybe that doesn't make sense to you. You're over there with your 13-inch MacBook Air on Google Docs. Okay, that's cool. No hate from me, possibly some level of resentment, but it's not that big. It's nothing compared to the 17-inch iBook. I think that thing weighed 45 pounds. It used like 500 watts of electricity, and you can only keep it on your lap for 30 minutes max because it cut off the circulations to your quads. Truly an impressive machine. A large dinner tray. That's right. You could close the top and eat your dinner off the top of it.
Does this, I mean, do you find this a thought of like a folding MacBook that's all screen and then it has a separate keyboard? I mean, is that really enticing to anyone?
Hold on. No one said anything about a separent keyboard.
Oh, how's it going to work?
I don't know. That is confusing because
I'm looking at. I'm kind of surprised. Lenovo makes a yoga book. It's like that. OLED touch laptop folding two screens. It looks like two iPads folded together. Of course, it's a touch screen, which Apple keeps saying it'll never make a touchscreen Mac. It has a separate keyboard. I mean,
okay, well that's ridiculous. Nobody needs. Is it gonna decline the offer? No one needs a separate keyboard. That's absurd.
The most confusing part of this to me is that if they're coming out with a primarily touch-first device, why would it run macOS, which is a pointer-based device, and not iPadOS, which is designed for being touched by a finger? So I feel like maybe they just know that like Apple's working on some kind of folding touchscreen device, and they're like misattributing it to the MacBook Pro and not an iPad.
I think you might be right about that. Yeah,
Mac.
Yeah, because if you extend the screen all the way down, you have to move the keyboard, and there's no space to move the keyboard because the trackpad's enormous. So I agree. Well, either they have a version
like macOS isn't designed to be poked with a finger. All the controls are tiny.
Well, I mean,
you have to sharpen your fingernails down to like points. Hey, well, and our story says it's talking about how virtual keyboard. Remember how much fun it was to get that typing on glass feeling using one of those MacBooks. Well, this is actual typing on glass. Wouldn't that be great?
People type on glass all the time. with their iPhones and their iPads.
Do they like it?
No, I hate it. I don't
Is
even
it-
send a
is
text
it
message unless I'm at
speedy?
my Mac. Well, that's why I think that Griffin's observation that this might be misattributed to a different product, like maybe some kind of iPad, I think would make way more sense. Because if they're going to have this thing be 20 inches and and when you unbend it, it's going to have a software keyboard, and it won't need a trackpad because the entire thing will be touch sensitive. So they're either going to do it an iPad and just have it be an iPad Fold, or they're going to call this thing the MacBook Touch. The MacBook Touch.
Airflow, do you remember the Microsoft Surface Neo? This
Was
was
it-
a concept
was it brown?
for a folding laptop they had. If you're familiar with the Surface Duo, that's their like folding phone thing.
Oh yeah, I
The
remember that
Surface-
thing.
The Surface Neo was the larger one that they never shipped. They never finished it as a product.
Really?
But it's like not like 13-inch laptop size, but it was like a netbook sized thing
Yeah.
that has two screens with like a really thin, separation between them with like a little hinge. And, it had a magnetically attaching keyboard accessory. So when you have it folded in a laptop form factor, the keyboard thing would snap into place where it would go on a laptop. And then suddenly below that, and the keyboard thing only occupied like half the size of one of the screens. So the other half would become your trackpad dynamically. So you could have like a laptop form factor. Then you could slide the keyboard down to the lower half, and then the upper half would be like for like, inserting emojis or special symbols like that. Then you could like flip it around, make it sort of like a tent shaped thing and have the keyboard separate. You could lay it flat and then just have one giant screen.
That is
It was
interesting.
really cool. It's a shame that never. I'll put a link in the show notes where you can see
we're-
it rather than
yeah.
a poor description.
I'm showing it right now. I wonder whatever happened to this thing. Was it just vaporware? Did they never actually talk about it? And that was
They
just it.
canceled the operating system that it was supposed to run on, Windows 10X. They never finished it.
Okay.
Because
Interesting.
as Microsoft is completely incapable of coming up with a modern operating system. They just want to keep shipping Windows NT, which is 25 years old.
Well, when you have it perfected, what point is there in making something new? Have you considered that, Griffin?
Way older. It's like God, like 30 or 35 years old now. Jesus.
I mean, the registry is one of the greatest achievements in technology, human technology of our lifetime, and I won't hear otherwise.
That Surface Neo kind of looks like a MacBook Pro with a touch bar.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? And it's interesting because, like, I see what you're saying when you attach the keyboard. I'm guessing it's like magnetic or something. Did you say that?
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, the lower screen where you are attaching, the one that's flat on the table where you are attaching the keyboard, like the portion above the keyboard snaps into like essentially what looks like a touch bar. That's actually kind of an interesting idea. It's kind of a bummer they didn't ship this. I would imagine that this would have appealed to some people. And it's kind of a good use of both of the screens and like the lower screen being like multi-purpose. Yeah, I remember the hype on this and Panos Panay,
Yeah.
the man with
I
the
remember-
easiest name in tech to say, he was all over the place talking about this. He's covered ad nauseum. Everyone was
That was-
making YouTube videos about it, and you're right, it's just gone.
That was an impressive unveiling, whatever you call it, when they talked about those products.
Yeah, the keynote.
I hate that word keynote, but
Why
yeah,
not?
I guess
Why not?
I'll have to say it.
Or I guess in Microsoft terms, it's the PowerPoint.
There you go.
Can't call it the keynote. I don't know why we're even talking about this. Where are we? Oh, you know what? I know exactly where we are. Hey, Lewis, do we have a giveaway this week?
No giveaway.
Okay. Well, I'll give
Sorry.
I'll give the people something anyway, because I'm generous, and that's a great discount on a great product, and the product is Squarespace. Squarespace.com/CultCast. You know what? I'm not just a promoter of Squarespace. I'm also a user. And doggone it, it's just so easy to use. I run the cultcloth.co on this website, and I vetted them thoroughly before deciding to build the website on their platform because I was like, can you handle thousands of orders per minute? That's a huge requirement for CultCloth. And we did a bunch of testing and user experience evaluations, and they proved that they could do it. And I mean, yes, they had to liquid cool the servers that handle the CultCloth orders because the processing is happening so fast. but they're doing it. And if you want to sell a product online, it's easy for me to recommend Squarespace because that's what I use. But even if you're not going to be selling products or physical products, maybe you're considering selling digital products, maybe you just want to market your business or market your own personal skills online. What I like about Squarespace is it's like a Swiss Army knife. You pay the one fee, but there are all these different templates that you could use for all these different website types. And you can just build the one that's most appropriate for you. And many of them have like these offer you capabilities to like earn revenue online. You can create a membership website or have your calendar available for people to book so they could book time with you. There's a lot of ways to make money online. Or you can just have a beautiful website that markets your business. And it's easy to build, it's easy to maintain, and you'll never have to touch it. It just sits there working. And you just never have any problems with it. I've literally never had a single problem with my Squarespace website. I've been using it since 2015. And if you ever want to change things up, they make that really easy to use because everything is so easy to move around and build out. You can invite in contributors. So I love Squarespace. I'm so happy that they're sponsoring us. They're one of our longest time sponsors. And if you're ready to get going with the website, head on over to squarespace.com/CultCast. Build a website, see how you like it. You can use offer code CultCast at checkout when you decide to make your purchase to get 10% off your first purchase. And if you do a year of service, which is what I do, you get an additional discount. So it ends up being a really great value. Squarespace.com/CultCast and use the code CultCast at checkout to get that discount off your first order. Okay. I think that we sufficiently flogged all of those horses. Should we move on to the Apple Car, Lewis? Did you have an update on how that product or how that project came to crash and burn so horrendously?
Oh, yeah, this is hats off to Mark Gurman on this. He wrote this long piece this week about like the inside history of the Apple Car, and it's just crazy. I mean, he's got details about some wild prototypes and just all the back and forth flip-flopping, indecision and let's do this, no, let's do that, let's try this, let's reinvent the car, no, let's copy a Tesla. To me, it was because I was so devastated when they killed the Apple Car project. I found this to be a very, very fascinating read. There is a lot of like super inside baseball. This person was in charge for this amount of time. They did this. They, that kind of stuff. But what I really liked about it was like some of the insider stuff about like prototypes and also the sort of it sounds like there's some disgruntled employees and they're sort of coming out of the woodwork and chiming in on thank God this got canceled, or it was a good idea, but one of the quotes that I thought was pretty damning was this, of course, an anonymous Apple executive worked at Project Titan, said the big arc was poor leadership that let the program linger while everyone else in Apple was cringing.
Wow.
I found that kind of astonishing. Like, I could kind of imagine it, right? Like, there's so many people working at Apple, and you're like trying to get an extra head count to, make Siri work better, and they've got 200 people over in some research center, dreaming up cars that are never going to exist. I said the word Siri out loud.
I was going to say, is something talking to you?
I got punished. So what I thought, aside from all the sort of gory details about infighting and all that stuff, and Tim Cook's lack of decisiveness, it did not paint a very good picture of Tim Cook either. It was sort of like, yeah, he keeps saying, yeah, well, let me look at the data. Let me think about it. Let me, there's a lot of like harping about that kind of thing. But what was really fascinating was like the prototypes, right? So one of them was apparently called the bread loaf, which I love that name. Some people kind of, apparently used derisively by some people. Anyway, so this is a quote from Gurman. The prototype, a white minivan with rounded sides, an all-glass roof, sliding doors, and white wall tires, was designed to comfortably seat 4 people and inspired by the classic flower power Volkswagen microbus, with a giant TV screen, a powerful audio system, and windows that adjusted their own tint. The cabin would have club seating like a private plane, and passengers would be able to turn some of the seats into recliners and footrests. There would be no steering wheel and no pedals, just a video game style controller or iPhone app for driving at low speed as a backup. Alternately, if the car found itself in a situation it was unable to navigate, passengers would phone into an Apple command center and ask to be driven remotely. I found that bizarre.
Why?
I mean, well, I mean, well, having Apple remotely, drive your car somewhere, that to me sounds crazy.
Oh, okay.
But-
yeah,
but-
I agree with you on that
but
part.
I
I was thinking
love-
autonomous driving.
What I love about this is the whole grand idea, right? They were really dead set on completely changing transportation, and there's tons of details in this story. I recommend you go read it. If you're interested at all in Apple Car, that story by Gurman is a great read. This other prototype, this is even more bizarre. This is called the I-Beam prototype. And by this point in the project, the car's design, quote, had become pod-shaped with curved glass sides that doubled as gull wing doors, and the company considered including ramps that would automatically fold out to make heavy cargo easier to load. The front and the back were identical, and the only windows were on the sides, a design choice with potentially dire consequences in the event that a human needed to do any driving. Front and rear windows were later added. I mean, those are some pretty out there ideas.
Why would you ever need a human to drive it when it's powered by Siri with a neural engine?
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of ambition at play here, right? And they're thinking, oh well, we can crack this, and it just sounds like they eventually just decided, well, it's not going to happen anytime soon, so let's just spend our money on something else. But
I mean, executive dysfunction aside, the self-driving cars is a tricky problem because it's actually really easy to make a self-driving car that can work 90% of the time. It takes a little more work to make a self-driving car that works 99% of the time. But if you're shipping a car without a steering wheel or pedals, without a front windshield, you need a car that works 100% of the time. And it's really easy to extrapolate your early progress and think that self-driving is only 3 or 5 years away. That's a trap that Elon Musk is still falling for. But it's just, I feel like if they were really confident and they started another Project Titan 5 years from now, then maybe another 10 years after that, they could ship a full self-driving car. But doing this in 2014, it was just too early. And I think, they're, because of Tim Cook's indecision, they were just wasting another $1 billion a year every year for every extra year that it wouldn't work. And, that what do you call it? That leech is no longer on the company. Although, I thought we were going to have to wait another 5 or 10 years to actually know what the Apple car was like. And, we've already got the most rewarding part of it, which is now we know that it was a weird pod-shaped thing that's shaped like a living room without any front windshield. And it was symmetrical front and back, which is an interesting design choice. But
available only in white per Johnny Ive's instructions.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was a fascinating tidbit too. I don't know. I just, this article made me even more sad that they killed it because it was so interesting, so they were thinking these big ideas and maybe I've watched too many sci-fi movies, but I love the idea of that kind of thing existing, and I love the possibilities that they could have brought to life if they had finally shipped something. And one point in this article was they could have just shipped basically like a Tesla and then made it better, and that some people had that, I think they said Kevin Lynch, the Apple Watch guy who took over the project, I think that was his approach to it for a while. Well, we can make a Tesla kind of car, and then 5 years down the line we can add this and that. But to me it's still, I just don't feel sad about it, man. I would really, even though I probably would have never had the money to buy one of these things. I mean, I can't even afford to buy a Vision Pro, but I would have liked to have seen what they could do.
I mean, another detail in the story is that when they started designing a more normal car, their price target was still an expensive $85,000, and even then they couldn't meet it. The prototypes were running at around $120,000.
Right.
So at that rate, they're shipping a car that doesn't do anything special and is still way more expensive than anything else on the market.
Yeah. They learned
Yeah,
how
but
difficult
people
the
would
automobile
have bought
market
it.
is. Sorry, Lewis. What?
So some people would have bought it for sure. I mean, I don't know. There's all kinds of stuff. They were talking about all these companies they would partner with. They talked about buying McLaren, and I mean, one of the things they said was, well, maybe if they thought that maybe if they bought McLaren, it would get Johnny Ive re-engaged at Apple. I mean, like,
Wow.
it's filled with that kind of crazy detail about behind the scenes stuff and clashes of personalities and clashes of visions. And I mean, I complain sometimes that we talk about Gurman's reporting so much, but this is a great story. And this is, he put this together when they pulled the plug on it like a week ago, right? Or a week and a half, whatever. And it's just a great read. So I definitely recommend people take a look.
Yeah, it's good to kind of have some closure on what happened. And reading through this, there are certain beats that they hit where you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. Like when they say they brought in one of our personal favorites, who we don't talk about nearly enough, Bob Mansfield, who apparently viewed the project as a no-go right from the start and moved them from trying to build a car into salvaging the project just to get pieces that they thought they could salvage and use because of all the money that had been spent.
Like
that
a software system for
that
cars,
describes the
taking
pivot
license.
from Apple's making a car to well, they're actually just making software.
Yeah,
and we talked about that in the past.
Yeah, one of the things that was really fascinating as I was cobbling together my Cliff Notes version of Gurman's story was that a lot of these things that were mentioned were reported at the time. The hiring Mansfield to take over, putting Lynch in charge, Doug Field. It's not that big of a secret that these people moved around within the organization or got hired by Apple or left Apple or whatever. But it's just it like brought the whole thing like a decade of rumors and showed that these rumors were pretty spot on. At one point they decided, well, what we're going to do is just create like an autonomous shuttle bus. We're going to partner with Volkswagen and make this driverless shuttle bus that goes from point A to point B, which is totally doable. I mean, these things exist already, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's hard to believe that they spent like $10 billion in a decade of time, and what they ended up with was, forget it.
Well, that's the thing about moonshot projects. It wouldn't be a moonshot project if some of the time you don't hit the moon. It took us 10 tries to get to the moon. The first time it just blew up before it even launched. So,
Yeah, I think it died on the vine when they couldn't make self-driving happen. And I don't know, maybe it's because they're in an echo chamber that they thought this would be possible. But again, you point to Tesla. They have been selling those self-driving functionality, and they charge a lot of money for it.
Only
as far as I'm aware,
$10,000
is it $10,000?
I think it's $15,000.
I think it's 15.
Now.
Yeah,
12, something like that. Yeah,
and that's essentially to future-proof your car. Now, imagine if you had bought a Tesla 10 years ago. Were they offering that 10 years ago, and you'd spent $7,000 when they were first offering it? Dude, that technology is probably never even going to be possible in those cars, even though they have the hardware. It's not going to be something that you could ever do in those Teslas that charge that money in the early years. I don't think. It feels like we're still 10 years away from self-driving cars. And if Apple pouring billions of dollars into this, spending 10 years on it, and could not figure out how to make it work, like Apple out of all companies, Tesla still can't figure out how to make it work. I mean, no car manufacturer can figure out how to make self-driving autonomous vehicles work in any kind of mass manufactured way that isn't just you're driving around the streets of San Francisco avoiding the dung piles and you never exceed speeds of 25 miles per hour. But actually having a car where you could kick back and have it drive you places autonomously, if Apple could have figured that part out, this would have been a big accomplishment for them. But they couldn't, and if you don't have that technology, well then why would people spend money on your car? Your car is literally like everyone else's if you can't accomplish that feat. Were you going to say something, Lewis?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, they do have those in San Francisco, and they are expanding. It does kind of work.
It does kind of work.
Self-driving, yeah. And then every
go.
now and then they find, 10 of them circling in a cul-de-sac somewhere. It's crazy.
Anything else on the car story? Because I just realized I forgot to mention something that I said I was going to mention.
Oh, dear. Yeah,
I'll do it real quick.
It's got to be. Let's pull the plug in the car.
Okay.
It's done. It's
over.
dead.
It's dead. So I just wanted to mention, we had this story that new MacBooks and iPads are coming at an Apple event. And we talked about the MacBooks, which didn't have an Apple event, but I forgot to mention the dang iPads. So it appears we're not going to be getting an Apple event, but we are still expecting new iPads. They're incoming in the next week or two, and we have talked about these before. The iPad Pros, we're expecting a small price bump, and then a switch to OLED displays to accommodate that price bump, or also just because Apple can do it and they want to charge more money for the iPad Pros. I'm hoping it's not going to be hugely more expensive because I really want one of the new iPad Pros, but I also don't want to spend, an extra $200 on an iPad Pro. Let me just read from the story here so I don't miss anything. Multiple sources indicate that there will be a March 2024 event, which we know is probably not happening now, which will bring the first iPad Pro with an OLED screen rather than LCD. The new display type will supposedly come to both sizes, the iPad Pro 11 and the 13-inch. And the OLED will let Apple significantly slim down the tablets. I think we talked about them shrinking in thickness by like up to 1 millimeter, which is huge. It's a huge reduction in size. Like the upcoming MacBook Air versions, expect Apple's top-tier iPads to run the M3 processor, but according to what we've heard so far, it looks like there will be a price bump of about $160, which would be a major bummer, man. We're also expecting the first 12.9-inch iPad Air, which we've talked about before, and this should be incoming sometime. Hopefully next week, we'll just get a press announcement, and that will be the end of it. Although I wouldn't mind an event, but it seems like that's not going to happen now. The upgraded iPad Air, not the large one, but the regular size, and we're expecting it to stay the same price. We have no idea what the 12.9-inch iPad Air is going to cost. There is a question on whether or not the new iPads will run the M2 or the M3 chip. I'm guessing it's going to be the M2. The story says it may run the M3 and jump over the M2 because it's currently running the M1 now, right? I don't think they're going to do that.
You think they're going to ship a new product with an M2 in it? If it had an M2 in it, then why wouldn't they have shipped it last year?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that it's weird. The reason I say that is because I think it would be weird for Apple to ship a iPad Air that's running the same chip as the iPad Pro, although I guess that wouldn't be without precedent. So that's
they're
what
going to differentiate the iPad Pro by having the OLED display. And
and the better speakers and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that might be what they do. I just think it's weird to have a Pro and a regular iPad, a much cheaper iPad with the same level of performance. But I think that has happened before, so that's not without precedent. In any case, these will probably be arriving. I'm going to guess probably next week or possibly the week after, in some kind of casual press release and an update on Apple's website. I'm really excited to see what they end up doing because I do think my iPad is getting kind of old now, and the Dr. Disrespect videos are not running quite as smoothly as they used to. So, and that dancing, I need to see it in 120 frames per second. So I'll be looking to update that. Corey B from the chat, do you think we'll ever get an update to the AirPods Max? Yeah, I remember us seeing that there was an update planned for either this year or next. I mean, at the very least, they'll update it to USB-C. But
what an upgrade.
Yeah, but the internal components, I'm not sure. I mean, also we need to get lossless. That will also be probably part of it because the fact that they pitch AirPods Max as hi-fi headphones, but then they use Bluetooth to stream music to the AirPods Max instead of Wi-Fi is baffling because
they also don't have the same voice canceling features as the AirPods Pro do. So like the AirPods Pro 2 have more features than the AirPods Max, which cost twice as much. So I imagine they'll probably fix some of that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, because when did the AirPods Max come out? I don't even remember. 2.5 years ago?
It's closer to like 3 or 4 years ago, I think.
Look this up.
I think it was 2019.
When did AirPods Max come out?
2020.
December 15, 2020. Yeah. Wow. I cannot believe it's been that long. So it's been, over 3 years now. That's wild. I'm actually thinking about selling my AirPods Max. I almost never use them anymore. Like I only ever use them on airplanes, and if they're going to be releasing a new model with lossless, some kind of lossless codec, better noise canceling, perhaps slightly better audio and USB-C, now's the time to make your move, I think.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
The savvy seller.
Now's the time to make your move before all the other people
Soak the rubes.
Yep. All the other people start selling theirs on Craigslist because the new version came out. All right. Where are we?
Do I have time to rant about Spotify?
I think we do.
Okay.
Let's do it.
I'll make it quick.
Why not? Take it
EU
away.
The European Union fines Apple 1.8 billion euros over, quote, abusive treatment of Spotify. The European Commission fined Apple just about $2 billion Monday for, quote, abusing its dominant position on the market for the distribution of music streaming apps. For many years, the Sweden-based company objected to App Store rules that required Spotify to give Apple a share of subscription fees paid by iPhone users. To avoid revenue sharing, Spotify stopped allowing customers to subscribe to its service inside the app. Going further, it went to the European Commission with complaints that App Store rules prevented it from telling customers that they can sign up on its website. On Monday, the European Commission sided with Spotify. Quote, the Commission found that Apple applied restrictions on app developers, preventing them from informing iOS users about alternative and cheaper music subscription services available outside of the App Store. The Commission said in a press release, this is illegal under EU antitrust rules. And Apple kicked back with arguably one of it's so weird. It reads like an angry blogger, like how angry Apple's response was. Apple points out that Spotify commands 56% of Europe's streaming music market and, quote, pays Apple nothing for the services that have helped make them one of the most recognizable brands in the world. Like, I think Apple says that, quote, pays Apple nothing like 5 times in this press release. It's crazy. And here's the thing. I don't like Spotify. I like Apple Music. I'll never switch to Spotify. I have no plans to. I think its interface is ugly. I don't like how they have a real Mac app. But the thing is, I have to agree with Spotify here. It's ridiculous that Spotify and other developers aren't allowed to even tell their users that they can sign up on a website, and the fact that they have to give Apple 30% of all of their revenue to run a competing service that Apple ships a music app on the phone already. And Apple doesn't have to pay themselves 30% tax, but Spotify does. It's crazy. Like imagine if at a football game, the home football team only had to make it to the 30-yard line instead of the end zone. That's basically how Apple and Spotify are competing with each other right now. For an industry that's already operating on such tight margins, because like almost all of Spotify's revenue has to go to like paying out artists and all that, and they have to give 30% of the revenue to Apple. That's to a company that offers a competing service. I don't think Apple's position here is remotely defensible.
I mean, I kind of see both sides of the argument, to be honest with you. Apple allows the app onto the iPhone, and Spotify leveraged Apple's product to become the service that they are. Without the iPhone, Spotify would be nowhere. So I think that's Apple's position.
I disagree with that there because Spotify pays Apple nothing beyond like the $99 a year developer whatever cost for the developer account. Here's the thing though. Any free app on the App Store that gets that many users is providing inherently more value to Apple than Apple is spending and supporting them running on the App Store. Like Spotify, and this, it's not just Spotify. Spotify, all of the Google apps that are free, people wouldn't use iPhones if there weren't great free apps that offer these free services. Spotify is adding value to Apple's platform that Apple is then charging them for.
I mean, that's a chicken or the egg conversation, right? It's like, is Spotify popular because of the iPhone, or is iPhone popular because of services like Spotify? I don't know. But I do see, I'm not saying that I agree with either side, because I actually also agree with some of the stuff that you just said. And I've made comments before that I think that Apple's arcane rules are way too overbearing. And I also don't like that they are the new gateway to the internet. Like people used to use websites and now they use apps. And Apple gets to unilaterally say who gets to have an app or not. I'm like, that's completely outrageous. Like, so if Apple doesn't like your app for some reason, then you don't get to exist on the internet. That's essentially how it works now. And I think that's crazy. So
I wasn't going to bring this up, but there's a remarkably similar story going on right now that Apple again revoked Epic's developer account, basically because of like a tweet that like Tim Sweeney tweeted.
Well, he's being mean. Like, he's a mean guy. So no more Apple account. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Apple's weird sort of total control over this stuff is annoying at times, but at the same, like I can also see both sides of these things. You know, like okay, the Sweeney thing. Like, what did Apple say to Epic Games? He said, well, in the past, you have blatantly and purposely broken our rules. So, and now you're talking trash about it. So,
which is true. I mean,
exactly,
they don't even deny it. Yeah.
Why should we consider trusting you? Screw it. We don't trust you. You're out. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that's at least partially, correct and supportable.
What, they've not broken that trust. Tim Sweeney wrote a critical tweet. Does that mean that every developer cannot write a single critical thing about Apple without having their developer account?
That's BS. That's not. They didn't do it over the tweet. They did it over the crap that Epic pulled when they put in that alternative payment system in their app against the rules. And they did it on purpose, willfully broke the rules. So Apple says you broke our rules, and okay, we let you back in for a minute, but now you're doing this. So, okay, well, really, what's to make us think that you're not going to break our rules immediately?
Because of that, Epic was kicked from the App Store. They revoked their developer account, so Epic is no longer allowed to start the alternative app marketplace that they had planned in the first place.
Which is convenient, I have to say. Like I doubt the tweet was the cause, but it probably didn't help. But the fact that this other marketplace that was being developed by a company with tons of money who could actually build something that people might want to use is all of a sudden not able to be produced anymore. I'm like,
Apple is
not good optics.
Twice for the same crime.
Well, so back to the other thing about like not being able to say, oh, by the way, you pull up the Spotify app and it says, oh, by the way, if you want to subscribe not through Apple, you can get it cheaper. I mean, it's sort of like you go into a store, like you walk into a Target and you say, oh, look, there's a shirt. You pick it up. The shirt's made by, Eddie Bauer. And on the tag, the Eddie Bauer says, oh, by the way, you could, it's $25 here. But if you want, you can go to the Eddie Bauer shop and buy it for $15 online. You don't have to pay Target that extra $10. I mean, that's a little bit like what they're requiring Apple to allow, right? I mean, at the same time, 30%, that's a lot of money. I mean, it's a complex situation. I don't think Apple is, I certainly don't think Apple's, 100% the right here, but they do run the thing. They do deserve some credit and some, skim for running it. I think to me, the thing that I find most sort of troubling about this EU thing is this little thing I found on the EU website. It says, fines imposed on companies found in breach of EU antitrust rules are paid into the general EU budget.
Yeah, I also think that has a lot to do with it. It's like, so
let's just take $2 billion from Apple.
Why not?
Because things are crappy in Greece and Portugal. So let's just steal some money. I mean, if they gave that $2 billion to Spotify, I would feel less weird about it. I don't like the fact that these bureaucrats just say, oh, we want $2 billion.
Yeah, and it just happens to go into our general fund.
Yeah. I mean, that
does create
$2 billion tax on Apple.
Yeah, but a bespoke tax just for them. I mean, that does feel like that's also bad optics. But governments around the world, I mean, they see Apple as one giant piggy bank, right? They got the money. They got the money. And what are they going to do? Not do business in your country or in your 15 countries? All right, we said we're going to flog this, and it's been dead for 5 or 10 minutes now. So let's move on to the last story here. We got some exciting new features. iOS 17.4.
So
I mean, I've been using iOS 17.4 for, I don't know, like a month now, but Griffin's just trying it for the first time. He's pretty giddy about it. So take it away, Griffin. What are the cool features that you liked?
Yeah, so first of all, hey, if you live in the European Union, you'll have access to alternate app marketplaces when those launch.
Man. What a time to be alive.
When they launch.
none of them have launched yet, but that supposedly incoming. The first time after you update, you can pick a new default browser that'll be allowed to use its own browser engine. Here's an interesting tidbit. If you speak multiple languages, you can now set up Siri to send texts in multiple languages. You're not just limited to English. As we mentioned at the top, in Apple Podcasts, there's a new transcript button that works exactly like live lyrics in Apple Music. You tap the speech bubble, and then you can see what I'm about to say before I even say it. The words animate like a karaoke screen. You can scroll and like tap on a paragraph to jump to that section. And you can even search through the transcripts to find the part where I say pork beans. You can find that and search for it. I'm sure our audience is killing for that.
I cannot wait to see some of these transcripts. By the way, these features are in everybody's, right? Not just in Europe.
Yeah.
Europe is just the App Store and the amazing new browser engines, right? Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Yeah. I looked through the transcript of previous episodes of the CultCast, and it's like frighteningly accurate.
It's pretty really good. Yeah.
Apple processes them on their servers, so it's like much more accurate than like what the Siri voice dictation would be.
Interesting. Preview of the future. So you're talking about running LLMs on your phone. It's like, but they do it on their server so that it actually works. So I'm like, okay, there you go.
There's some new emoji. There's a head shaking up and down, a head shaking left and right, a phoenix, a lime, a brown mushroom.
Finally a mushroom.
A broken link, and some alternate icons. That's what it's called. It's not just mushroom because there's already a mushroom. This is the brown mushroom emoji.
Those are the ones that I buy from Costco. I don't buy the white mushrooms. Aren't they called criminy mushrooms? Those are the ones I like. Oh, delicious.
Criminy.
Portobello?
Portobello, that's it. Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Portobello?
Is the criminy the white ones? I can't remember.
There are many kinds of mushrooms.
I love them all too. I love them all.
Is it the other mushroom? Is it the other mushroom emoji red and white though, like a magic one?
I would have to ask.
Is it really white?
I think there are multiple mushroom emojis because I feel like there is a white mushroom emoji as well.
Why do we need so many mushroom emojis? That's what I want.
Because people like different kinds of mushrooms, and there needs to be mushroom diversity. Lewis,
the red and white one looks like a toadstool.
Maybe that's why there's a lime emoji and not just a lemon emoji now.
Exactly.
Too.
Those are two different things.
Yeah. Also coming in 17.4, cloud gaming apps from Xbox, Nvidia, Netflix, and Sony are now allowed on the App Store as native apps, so you don't have to go to a web browser to play those services. Those might be launching in the future. And another nifty little tidbit, if you're buying something online and you want to pay using your Apple Cash balance, you can create a virtual card number for those situations where they don't accept Apple Pay.
Nice.
I read a how-to on that. But yeah, that's another neat little feature. That's it for 17.4.
I've given up on my Apple Card. I stopped using it.
Really?
Yeah, I did like it, but the thing that put me over the edge, in typical Apple fashion, they don't play nice with many of the apps, or actually any of the apps that allow you to download your transactions and monitor them all in one place. Like the Mints.
There's actually one more feature in 17.4 that might help with that. Apple just released a new API called Finance Kit, literally just in 17.4 that'll allow that.
Oh, really?
So all those apps might adopt that in the future.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, if that changes, that would be nice because I don't want to have to manage all of my Apple Card stuff in an app outside of the app that I normally use. I'm like, this is just an extra app for me to use. It doesn't show up in the reporting for all my other stuff. Because many people have multiple cards, right? And I don't want to have to go to the Apple app and be like, well, how's my spending in the Apple Card? It's like, no, I want you to slurp that data into my normal channels, and I want to see it as a part of my overall financial, my financials on a month-to-month basis is with all my other credit cards. I don't want the Apple thing to be separate. Now, Mint, which is now defunct, I think, they somehow got it working, and I don't know how. So it did work with Mint, but now Mint's gone. And none of the other finance apps that I've tried are able to integrate with Apple Card. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, like this is a cool card, but I don't really take advantage of many of its features besides the 2% cash back. So I'll just use one of my other cards. And it's like, there's lots of great cards out there.
Did you say Mint is defunct?
Yeah, they shut down, and they are moving users into Credit Karma now, which is some other app that Intuit owns, which I don't know what their focus is, but it's not it's not purely financial tracking like Mint was.
It's odd. I mean, their website doesn't seem to indicate anything's wrong.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
Mint is going away. Sorry.
There you go.
Sorry. Oh, I missed the gigantic banner across the top. What? Maybe I should ask you this offline. You don't have to answer this. But what do you use for this? What kind of finance?
Oh man, I did so much research. We ended up going with Monarch, which is one of the more popular ones. YNAB is another one of the popular ones. I think those services are kind of overpriced, to be honest. Like they're all charging, I think like $10 a month, which I'm like, that's kind of a lot. I think that actually QuickBooks had a really interesting app. I forget the name of it, but it's cheaper and it's also pretty well reviewed. But the reason I ended up going with Monarch is because they let me import all my Mint transactions, which was genius because I don't lose all my financial history for the last 10 years that I've been using Mint. And so I ended up going with Monarch. I'm not sure I'll stick with them. Like I like the service. It's good. I don't know if it's worth $10 a month, but it does a good job, and the UI is great, and it's Apple-centric in its design, so I do like all those features. Plus, you can set up multiple accounts for different people, so like my wife and I can have different accounts, which we couldn't in Mint. We just had to use the same login, but I also don't really care about that feature. It's like sharing the same login isn't that big of a deal, although it does allow you to have different people review different transactions because you have different user accounts, so that part's nice. So I'm using Monarch. YNAB is another big one that I considered using, but I ended up going with Monarch. But Mint is now gone, unfortunately, which sucks because Mint was great, and then Intuit bought them, and then didn't really do much development with them for why they owned them, and then shut them down. It's like, oh, great. Thanks for buying an app we all loved and ruining it. Intuit. All right.
Dare we?
Shall we stop the show there? No, don't answer. Here's your answer. We shall. That's it. We made it through all the show notes. And we've been broadcasting for an hour and 22 minutes just right there. That's it. That's all the CultCast we have for you guys this week. But you know what? The party never ends, especially if you're in the Cult Club. We're doing Robes Open Weekend this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can join us at support.thecultcast.com. Griffin's learning this for that. Well, here's your warning. You may or may not want to show up for that. It's one of our beloved events that we do several times a month. This has been the CultCast, the best 30-plus minute Apple conversation you're going to hear all week long. New episodes of the CultCast come out every Thursday night. I want to thank everyone for listening and for hanging out live. And we will see you guys. That's as high as I got it. Next time. Oh man, look at that new, beautiful see you next time screen we got there. Courtesy of D. Griffin Jones. What's the D stand for? We'll never tell. All right, everyone. Have a good one. That's right, I said Monarch. They should be paying me, or at least giving me the account for free. Monarch, if you're listening, I'd like all of my dues refunded for that free plug that I just gave you. I should just send them a bill and see what happens. I'll just send them a sponsorship invoice. I want to see if they pay it. Is that legal? I guess we'll find out. I mean, I'm not telling them they have to pay us. It's just a suggestion. Suggested balance, $5,000. All right, everyone, I'm hurtling towards the end stream button as we speak. Hope you have a great weekend. Bye, y'all.